Okay, this is Economic Nationalism, Objective 2, about the foundations of the American industrial economy prior to the Civil War. And this all begins with the Industrial Revolution in Great Britain. Now, Britain started this whole thing around 1750, primarily using water power. The textile plants that the British had developed, as you can see from the belt process here, could mass produce textiles at an increased rate. It increased textile production to 10,000 times greater than handmade. Now, this started in 1750 in Britain, but it took much longer for it to happen in America. In America, we were still very comfortable making custom goods in like the master craftsman workshop as you see here. You'd hire an apprentice, and the apprentice would learn from you, and when you retired, he would take over the business. Now, land was very cheap in America at that time, and people wanted to work outside and not inside. Plus, factory labor was pretty scarce until the old immigration period. Before we had the Germans and the Irish coming over, you didn't see a lot of people working in factories. They were farming or doing other things. Again, they wanted to be outside. Also was the idea that manufacturing was a British tradition, and over time they became the experts at it. We did not consider ourselves to be experts in the field. There was not a lot of capital investment money in the United States yet, and also not many ways to secure property rights. And also with very unstable political situations around that time, we weren't exactly sure that factory and mass manufacturing was the way to go. So how does the American industry aspect or the American Industrial Revolution get started? Well, it starts with this guy, Samuel Slater, who's considered the father of the American factory, specifically in textiles. Now, at one time, he was a 21-year-old British mechanic who memorized the plans for the machinery, then fled in disguise to the United States. Didn't have any of the paperwork with him, he just memorized everything. He approached an investor named Moses Brown, and with Brown's investment money, Slater created his first factory in 1791 in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Now, after the factory was formed, they got massive amounts of cotton. The first couple years were kind of rough, but they started getting massive amounts of cotton after Whitney invented his cotton gin in 1793. Once that happened, Slater's mill became a highly producing factory. So the deal was basically this. The South provided the cotton, and the North became far more industrial. Now, this considered a series of, or continued a series of old traditions. The South had always been known for farming, southern farming, and the North had always been known for making crafts, like the master craftsmen that I showed you before. New England had very stony soil, which made it very difficult for farming, and the population of the North was much more dense, which gave it accessible labor and markets. The North also had many seaports for imports and exports, and a lot of rivers to provide water wheel power to the turbines inside a factory. Now, there were a lot of Civil War or pre-Civil War industrial advancements, I should say, prior to 1861. The first of which not only was Eli Whitney's cotton gin, but also Eli Whitney being the guy who comes up with interchangeable parts. Rifles, for example, used to be custom made. But now, Whitney had come up with the idea of creating ways to make the parts of a rifle things that could be put into any rifle, really. And when you had the concept of interchangeable parts, that added a boost to mass production as well. Because now with many parts, not just with guns, but factory items, things like that, with many parts for so many things being similar, it was easy to interchange things when something broke down. So that whole process of interchangeable parts in 1798 basically revolutionized the society. But there were other things that added to increased textile production as well. One was, of course, the sewing machine of Elias Howe and Isaac Singer, and also the telegraph, when it came out in 1844, made it much more possible to send messages, place orders, mass produce things through the use of the eventual railroad that was going to come in play. When these inventions became highly usable and people saw there was money to be made in inventing things, patents started to grow from 306 in 1800 to 28,000 by the Civil War. Now, if you don't know, a patent is a protection for your design. If you come up with a new product and get a patent on it, if anybody copies it or makes something similar to it, you get rich and get royalties. Well, you know, in 1800 there were only 306 patents. By the Civil War there's 28,000, and by 1838 the patent clerk temporarily resigns, saying all of the inventions that could be invented already have been. Now, as a result of this, there's also a transportation revolution that takes place in America, as new ways to transport goods are definitely needed. You can see here up by Lancaster, Pennsylvania, here is the Lancaster Turnpike. And the Lancaster Turnpike becomes one of the prime ways. It's a 62-mile road from Philadelphia to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And it becomes one of the prime ways to transport goods. Now, the reason it was called a turnpike is that a barrier of sharp spikes opened up after you paid your toll to use the road, and therefore they get the term turnpike. A catalyst for a turnpike boom started happening in the early 1800s as turnpikes came up all over the place. Also was the Cumberland Road. Now, the Cumberland Road you can see right along here. And the Cumberland Road went 591 miles from Maryland to Illinois. Again, that was a big part of the process as well. Steamboats, invented by Robert Fulton in 1807, also became a huge part of transporting goods. It ended a reliance on wind, wave, and tide, and also current for propulsion by using a steam engine to propel the boat. Another major advancement were the series of canals that started coming up, specifically the Erie Canal, located along here in upstate New York. The Erie Canal linked the Great Lakes and the Hudson River and became another prime source of transporting goods and services. But the United States really wasn't done there. In 1858, this guy right here, Cyrus Field, stretches transportation cable from Newfoundland all the way to Ireland across the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, that first cable in 1858 only lasted 3 weeks, but they did get a more permanent cable put down in 1866 that lasted far longer. Clipper ships were also a big part of the transportation wave that was hitting. They emerged in the 1840s and 1850s to create a profound increase in shipping. Basically, they could outrun any steamer. They were light, they were sleek. They couldn't hold much, but they did carry high-value cargoes in record times. And they took much of the overseas transporting business from Great Britain, which had been the traditional leader in international trade and transport. Now, the clipper ship phase wouldn't last very long. Britain would eventually reclaim supremacy with their what were called tea kettle ships. They were slower, but steadier than clipper ships were. I couldn't really find any pictures of tea kettle ships, so this is about the closest that you're going to get, but it gives you the basic idea. Back on the continent, stagecoaches in the Old West also became a major part of the landscape as well. And the Pony Express, which was established in 1860, carried mail from St. Joseph, Missouri to Sacramento, California in 10 days or less. Pony Express riders had stations every 10 miles, but there was a reason that they only wanted young, skinny, wiry fellows not over 18 with orphans preferred. Primarily it was because the riders often rode unarmed. They would ride through summer or winter, day or night, dust or snow, past Indians, past bandits, and it was an extremely dangerous job. However, the Pony Express didn't stay around. It's a famous part of our history, but it wasn't around for very long. It folded after 18 months due to massive profit losses, and also the expansion of Samuel Morse's telegraph most likely didn't help the process either. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.